Now see...
Forget it was a tough series. Both clubs riding each other, doing everything to get each other's goat.
A time with art!
On this episode, we have invited Dean O'Driscoll, a longtime friend of mine, to do this podcast with me. And Dean and I have known each other since 1981, when he was a basketball player here at Southern Utah University. And then he became an assistant to the president, and that was later on. But he also did color on broadcast for me and for the station. He was a very good one after he returned from Tucson, Arizona, where he learned how to do a lot of broadcasting after graduating from our communication program. So he's back here in town. And so I wanted to have him on the podcast so we could talk about old times and everything that's gone on. And we had to do this intro. But anyway, this is now the new intro to Dean O'Driscoll, who has worked at SUU and done a great job. And he was at Snow College also, by the way. So here's introducing Dean. Enjoy.
That's who I learned to golf from, was Ron Abeglin in a class at Snow College way back when. So, yeah, that was fun. And then I did show up here in about August of 80 after 2 years at Snow College, and 2 great years. It was great finally getting to play for Ron. And we were 26-2 and probably should have went to the national tournament, but we had a hiccup at the tournament, didn't make it. But that's when I met some of my lifetime friends, was right here. We'd all showed up maybe a week or 2 before school starts or start playing. Right over here. And I'm pointing right over here, meaning the center of that living room was about the center jump circle in the old gym that we all played.
Field house, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I spent a lot of my time.
I did too. That's where I started doing SUU games. And one day, Ernie Reidelbach was supposed to call the SUSC Grand Canyon game. I don't think it was College of Southern Utah anymore, because we had changed that when we moved a little bit further up and got into some of these other conferences. But he got sick, and they called me at 6:30 and said, "Art, get over there. You've got to do the game." And so... And Robin Haight was on that team. Steve Lang, who became the commissioner of education in the state, he played in that game. And Grand Canyon was just a power back then. And the game was close. And that's kind of how
that's how you got in.
Broke into it. I had been at Dixie for a couple of years and did the games when Lionel Hollins was playing.
You've been forgiven.
Yeah, well, then I came back.
Yeah, I know that because I stepped it off. Most of my classes were in that, what was the new business building then.
Yeah.
And walk out the indoor, take about 10 steps across the sidewalk and in the side door of Field Memorial. I knew exactly how far it was from that building to that building, because that's where I spent 80% of my time, right back here. Yeah.
And now the new business building's on that parking lot where that was.
It was a great gym to play in as a player. It was compact. It was really noisy. The fans were right down on the floor. And it was fun even to broadcast games up there in that little perch above the end of the gym. Was unique.
Right behind the basket. Pretty unique, it's true. But at that point, I wasn't saying, okay, I got to be here or I got to be there. In fact, I never really did do that. I just loved doing the games. I didn't care where I was.
Where's my seat? I'm ready.
Because at BYU, you're right down on the floor. At Utah, you're up. And that's where they had all the broadcast team in that area. So that's how it worked. And that was a lot of fun. But it was okay because you could see the spacing of the players much better from that angle.
You know, it was fun to be in a gym where it was pretty much full every game. And it just had that atmosphere of excitement.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just men's basketball. In fact, the hardest seats when I was here to get were women's volleyball.
Yeah.
They were so good. I don't believe they ever lost a
went to the
game
national
when I was here.
Yeah.
For 2 years, we fought to get seats in there. You had to go early to get a seat, and they never lost. And they were really maybe the best team on campus during my time here.
But that's probably true. And then you played 2 years here.
Right.
And then helped coach that third year when Tom McCracken was here. And Stan Jack left right before you got here.
I talked to Stan
79,
Jack once on the phone, asking if I'd be interested to come play for him.
Yeah.
Next time the phone rings, it's not Stan Jack, it's Steve Hodson, actually, who was filling in between Stan Jack and Tom McCracken. And my recruiting visit was to see Steve Hodson.
Yeah.
And there's another great guy. And
Oh, yeah.
he was really an influence in bringing me here. Listening to him talk about playing here, playing in War Memorial, the crowd, the fun. Steve sold it to me. And that's pretty much how I ended up in a uniform here with Steve Hodson.
He sold the athletics around here to a lot of people.
Yes, he did. Because he believed in it, because he was all in. His heart was in it. Everybody knew that everybody that played for him loved him because he was all in and his heart was in it. And I haven't met too many people that were more well-liked than Steve Hodson.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I enjoyed talking to him all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, I coached Tebow when he was the recreation director here in Cedar City. And that's when that really took off, too. That's when my son was like 6, 7, 8 in that area. And Wayne Clark and Larry Reese were the coaches of the only team we couldn't beat that first year. But anyway, it's a long story there. But playing in War Memorial changed when we moved to the Centrum, that floor, and the same 1,900 or 2,000 people came, but it wasn't the same, was it?
It was not the same. And I had moved away. I had gone with one of my teammates, Brad Steinke, a point guard, to work in television in Tucson.
Right.
And so I was in Tucson when they opened the Centrum. But while I was here as an assistant coach, my third year, I was taking pictures of Jerry Sherritt standing down in the hole in the ground, admiring what he was creating before they even poured the first yard of cement, and watched the process of the early building days before I left town. And that was one of his biggest projects. I think he was most proud of. It was a unique community and college combination.
It was a great fundraiser for the city.
Right.
Because they came up with half of the money and the state paid the other half. But 40 years ago, that was $3.5 million or something like that, the total. And if you tried to build this building today, it would not be anywhere near. It would be way over that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, add some zeros there.
Well, tell us about Snow College and then coming to Southern Utah. You were recruited and you talked to Hodson a lot. And then that first year, Cracken's first year was a little rocky, but we had a good time on the road.
You know, it was really fun at Snow College because that coach was similar in one mindset with the coach I had here, Tom McCracken. They both scheduled the best competition that would play them because they wanted to go play the best to beat the best so they could be the best. And as a player, you always love that. And we played in the biggest tournament in LA, and we played in a 16-team tournament in Hawaii, and we won them, and we were having a blast. 5 of my teammates there all went on to play at 4-year. In fact, I think 6 did, actually. And we were all used to winning. We'd only lost twice. And so
that was at Snow College.
That was at Snow College. So coming here, I was expecting the same and met a lot of other players that showed up at the same time that were also from experienced and successful teams. and expected to win. It was just a challenge in the conference we were in, I think. The travel was a beast.
Yeah, it was, for sure.
I mean, when you throw tall basketball players in a van and drive from here to Silver City, New Mexico for 13, 14 hours, whatever it is, by the time you get out, it's hard to stand up, let alone play ball.
I think Fenway had 2 bats.
We did get to take 2 vans.
Stan Jack and I, when I first started in 74, 75, we took 1 bat.
Wow.
10 players, me and Stan Jack.
And then I did it.
And then eventually that became a van and a station wagon when Kerry Ruff and Hodson and those players were playing. And that was the year, well, Hodson was on that team. And that's the year we went to Kansas City in 77 after we beat Mesa and Grand Canyon in the tournament. And those were great days, great games. But Stan Jack always told me, and you and I have talked about this, if I'd had 1 player or 2 players, more scholarships, he said, I think I would have won that tournament a number of times. And he came close another time. And then...
it's a great conference, and it still is.
Yeah.
I just toured several of the campuses and texted messages from Pueblo, from Alamosa, from Durango and Grand Junction to my former teammates. And we joke about it and talk about it and laugh about it. One of the memories that we had, it's only been 2 weeks since I was in Grand Junction standing outside the gym, and I sent the pictures. And they says, where are you? I says, I'm standing right where Norman Adams was talking on the payphone while we're doing layups to warm up for the game. It's like 5 minutes before the game starts. We come out of the hall to find out that one of our stars is talking to his girlfriend on a payphone because they're having difficulties and he wants to iron it out before the ball goes up to start the game. It was crazy, but just the fun memories you share with teammates and coaches, and you were right in the heart, right in the middle of all of it. And those road trips are long, but it just gives you more memory time to make more fun memories and build friendships that don't go away. It's, that's 45 years ago. We text weekly, sometimes multiple times a week, even now.
I know you on that text with some of you. Yeah, that's great.
Crazy.
And I think you did have a good experience here, and that second year
was much better than the first. It's a tough conference, no doubt about it, but it was the right conference. I think the gyms were similar. They weren't giant stadiums or arenas. They were gyms like War Memorial and good crowds that supported the home team. And you had to battle and get in there, and you had to play 10 points better than the home team to have a chance to win on the road. But we loved the competition. We learned a lot that first year, and I think that's how we got better. McCracken learned a lot the first year, and that's how we got better. And then he scheduled a tougher conference, and really that senior year was the first Big Sky schedule where he took us to Weber State, he took us to Idaho State, he took us to Montana State, all on one road trip. We're going through the Big Sky, and it was brutal. But that's what we wanted as players. Give us the best teams that'll say yes to playing us. And, well, University of San Francisco.
Those were the first games we played against the 2 Montana teams, and they weren't in the league.
No.
And they played us, but that was a brutal trip.
Yeah.
And but a lot of fun, too.
A lot of fun. Yeah. You have to have a little trust in the driver. Sometimes you were driving.
Yeah.
Ben Davidson would drive. Coach McCracken would drive, but we're driving in vans after a game, maybe 10:30, 11 at night in the Rocky Mountains in the wintertime on snow and ice all night to get home. And sometimes we'd lay down on the floor so we didn't have to see how close to the edges of the road we were on those passes, 11, 12,000 feet up in the Rockies. But it brought us close together. I think that's part of what formed the relationships that have lasted this long, was going through all of it together.
And then you and Hoagland both coached in the next year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, of course. We told McCracken that's the only reason he won a championship. Yeah. It's because we were helping him coach. Oh, he was a great coach, and obviously he was, because he went on to University of Utah after that.
Yeah, he did.
And was a great assistant there. Had several other jobs, but he was a big shot at University of Utah men's basketball, and we were all proud of him for doing that. Big Sky was something I don't think at that time we had any clue that's where we were going to end up at some point in the future, 30, 35 years later. But it was the best schools that would agree to play us. And
San Francisco was one of them.
San Francisco. Yeah, they were ranked in the nation. Division I, NCAA, when we played them. And next year, St. Mary's and Cal, and it was fun. It's always helpful to recruit a player when you can show them a schedule where they're playing real schools with real competition. And you might get beat up, but you might pull off a great upset like March Madness.
Well, playing against you, some of them got beat themselves. But we did play San Francisco. Quentin Daly was on that team, highly touted All-American, and you had other guys. You mentioned a 7-footer that played that was just like a brick house in the middle. And that was the key to that San Francisco team.
Yeah.
They had some great teams back then.
They did. They had a really good tradition of high-quality basketball. One of them was a first-round draft pick to the Dallas Cowboys. Played linebacker. Trust me, I felt some of his blocks and some of his hits during that game, but that's the kind of competition you want to go against. And I loved it. Some of the favorite memories are against the best teams.
And then we did high school games together, and you were around here because we went to tournaments at the University of Utah and BYU, mostly BYU's Marriott Center in those 1A and 2A basketball tournaments. And I remember how much that was so great because the fans totally enjoyed what did they else have to do in the winter in all these little towns around Utah? And they were big on basketball. And I know you and I said, how come Paiuta's never won this tournament? And they had some players, didn't they?
They had some players. And it's not an exaggeration to say those towns shut down during the tournament. Everybody was in the Marriott Center cheering for their team. The whole town, all the businesses the doors are locked, the lights are out. It's basketball tournament time. We're going, and they did. And that's what made it so fun, is that just that community involvement, support, commitment. We got to do a lot of fun games around here where we did stuff some people probably never had to deal with. Do you remember the time that there was something wrong with the phone line? So I stood and held the end gym doors open so you could stand across the hall and call the game on a payphone, but the only way for you to see the floor is if I held the doors open while you called the game.
Right. I think it was Craig Jensen that played for Cedar High in that game, and he scored 37 or 8 points. And you would tell me, and then I would call it. And I got within one of how many points he had.
It was one. It was so fun. I hung on a ladder at Milford High School to call the entire game because you couldn't get in the press box, but you couldn't get down far enough away from it to do it because the line was so short. You had to be right there. So I stood on a ladder the entire game to call the game. And I don't think I've enjoyed games any more than that. It's fun. Thanks for getting me into that. I enjoyed it. And I started with play-by-play in color, with a similar start that you just described about yours. We're sitting in the Marriott Center. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. We've got 8 games to do, and we are so excited. It's the state tournament. You're talking along, and the game is going, and then it's quiet. And I think, technical difficulties. What's going on? But I turn to my left, and I look, and your mouth is moving, but nothing's coming out. And I keep looking at you. The game is going. It's live. You take your headphones off, you stand up, and you start walking out of the Marriott Center. I turn and look. You're going up the stairs, leaving me, and I'm just sitting there. I have no clue what's going on. Go, Dean. That was my
I
story.
think I said to you, Dean, I've got to go. You do this. But then I think John Yardley came in and
he saw me down there, and he thought, oh, he needs some help.
And a lot of people in southern Utah know John Yardley. For years, he did Panguitch and Valley, all the teams on the other side of the mountain, those 1A schools, and in those tournaments. But they were great. And we were set to do 8 games that day.
8 games.
I think we ended up doing 7 of them another year. But boy, KSUB covered the whole area, and we sold advertising to all these little towns. And they supported the teams, and that was great.
It was.
Let me just tell the listeners that this is Dean O'Driscoll visiting with me today. And many of you will know Dean from his years here at Southern Utah and on and beyond sports into the president's office later on. But I wanted to talk more about that championship season in 82, 83, when McCracken won the championship. And we played Western State on the road, I think. And that was you mentioned how you had to have 10 or 15 points better than the home team.
Right.
And that was a fight. You remember that?
Yes.
So we ended up winning. And that clinched the championship that year.
That was such a great feeling and a different new perspective for me and my assistant coach friend, former teammate, Steve Hoagland, to be now sitting over here and having to watch instead of out there trying to do it. And we're trying to work with Coach McCracken, great coach, on how to help teach and coach and mentor and inspire these players. And that was a great learning experience in and of itself. And I really enjoyed that. Did a little more coaching later on in my career, but that was the most enjoyable experience on the sidelines.
It was a great season. And despite the road trips, I remember one of them, we played 3 games in 4 nights, Friday, Saturday, and Monday. And we won all 3. And actually, maybe we lost one, and Coach McCracken was not happy at the end. And we got back to town, and, we all just kind of separated and didn't rock the boat too much. And then we went on to win most of the rest of the games. And that's been hard to believe 42 years ago.
42 years ago.
It was a great season.
Stay in touch with him. He still is a giant sports fan. He doesn't watch anything live. He records it so he can zip through it commercial free and watch 3 games a night instead of 1. He's recording a golf tournament. Well, this basketball game's going and the football game is on another screen over here. And he's just a giant sports fan. And I think could sit here and do a podcast with you for 39 hours without stopping. we joke when we talk to him. We say, we had a phone call and talked to Coach McCracken yesterday. Oh, let me rephrase. We had a phone call and listened to Coach McCracken yesterday because he could tell stories for hours.
He was a great interview on the radio, before the games especially. After, you know how that is. It's hard to get coaches if they win talk. And you could ask one question and then he talked.
Yeah.
And Jack Bishop was like that a lot too. I would ask him a question and he'd go on and on. But they were so invested in the sport and their games and their players, and they loved them. He had a lot of good times. You and I went down to the Holiday Inn and talked to him. Who else was there? There were several of us. Hoagland might have been there too. And it was during the SUU-NAU game when the T-Birds came back, and I can't remember how many overtimes they won at NAU. And we were at the hotel talking and just listening to all of his stories. He should write 10 books. He's got enough of them to do that. Anyway, those were great memories. And for you especially, it's being so involved.
I believe if you get down to the specific stats, he still has the highest winning percentage of any coach in the history of this school. Now, others have won a lot more games because they were here for a while. He was only here 3 years, but his winning percentage, even with my crappy junior year, was still the best winning percentage. And I think they're going to honor the guy with the most wins at the Hall of Fame coming up this fall, Bill Evans.
Yeah.
Another great guy.
I don't know that they've even released that yet, but that's true. Yeah. And it's probably,
Sorry to break news.
you and I would say that's about time.
Yeah, it is about time.
And he's still coaching.
He's still coaching, and he still loves
Eastern
coaching.
Utah.
Because I've sat down and talked to him just up the road here at a Snow College games when his team is in town to play Snow College. And he'll come over and sit on the bench, and then I get called being a traitor for talking to the opposing coach when I'm at Snow where I played. But he's just such a great guy, and he's doing it because he loves what he's doing.
And he had a good run at Idaho State after he left Southern Utah.
Absolutely.
The first game in the Centrum was played in 84-85 in December of 84. And the question that could be a trivia question of all time, who scored the first basket in an SU game in the Centrum? And the answer was Alex Adams, who made the first basket. Didn't score another point because he got hurt and never played another game that season. It was crazy.
Wow.
But yeah. And
I should remember that alphabetically he'd be right up there.
He would be. But it's easier to think. So anyway, just a little trivia for you.
Well, Bill Evans, we both got to share in that accomplishment as he was the first coach to take SUU to the NCAA tournament and the big dance. And we got to go out to Long Island and watch a game where we almost won it.
We did.
The shot went around the rim at the buzzer.
Jeff Monaco had the shot. 9 times out of 10, he would have made that shot.
Yeah.
But you remember the rebound went to Jeff Sand. And he was always the guy who finished. When the rebound came off of the three, he would shoot it, and they would always go in, and he missed it too. And we lost, I don't remember the score, 69-66, 3-point game to Boston College, who was rated way above where we were.
I think it was a 3-14 game.
3-14.
And the conference wasn't pleased that we won their league. We were in it, but one school had dominated that league and gone so many years, I didn't think we'd do well. And we almost knocked off number 3 Boston College. That was fun. That was Bill Evans.
We did beat Valparaiso that year.
The Valpo League.
The Valpo, yeah. And that's what they, a lot of that was because they kind of held the league together, and then teams started going to different places. Anyway, there are some other things that we did a lot of games together. Remember the Chicago State game? When they came and they had the really good team? Yeah. I think one of the assistants is here at Southern Utah now.
Oh, really?
Who was here. And he said, I really enjoy Cedar City, and I love being here. But he said, the only time I've seen much of it was when the bus drove in and after the game drove out, because they would stop and stay in Las Vegas and then come up. But you did the TV thing and I did the radio before we ever got into some of the other broadcasting, but that was a lot of fun. That was a great game.
We have called some fun ball games, and for some reason, one of the memories that stands out is the night that they retired the first jersey to the top of the rafters down there, and that was Mindy Larson.
Right.
And I knew that she was a great player, but I had no idea until a day or two before the game, and they asked me to read her bio as they raised the jersey. And when I read all the stats, I just went, wow. Obviously, she belongs up in the rafters because she had the most dominant career. You were here. You watched
UNKC, she missed a field goal shot. And it was something like her first miss in her last 28 or 29 or maybe even 30 shots.
Wow.
Those are the kinds of things. And she rivaled Hodson and Hoagland in the free throw shooting. She made a lot of those. But she was a great player and had other players around her. But that was a fun season.
That was a fun season.
And she went on to be a commissioner with Tom when he went to the was it the Mid-Continent League then? And then he changed the name to the
Summit League. Yeah, we helped design the logo for the Summit League, and Mindy's still there with the conference, and I think they've moved to South Dakota now. She liked it better when they were in Chicago. She liked living in Chicago and all the stuff that goes there. But I was cheering for her to become athletic director years ago, and I thought she'd have done a great job, and maybe she'd still consider it. Maybe she'll throw her hat in the ring this time.
Maybe so. They're going to be doing it soon. Tom Higbee's the interim, Judge Higbee. So, and he's a name that you know.
Yes, I do know him. There's a lot of great people that have supported and brought this school to where it is today. I've been fortunate to get to know John Yardley very well since that first broadcast and his time as chair of our board of trustees. And I sat in dozens and dozens of those meetings as on my role in the president's council. Then did the same thing with Gail Pollock, another fantastic human being. Also chair of our board of trustees twice, because once wasn't enough. And, these kind of people in Southern Utah that help support this university is why it's doing so well. And I tell you, I couldn't be more pleased with where it is right now with who sits in that president's office. I'm so proud to say that Mindy Benson is the president of my university.
And I'm proud to say it, too, since I taught her in Com 1010.
That's right. We were in the inaugural master's class.
In the master's program, you were in some of the classes. Yeah, a lot of them. And you both got your master's degrees here at SUU.
Yeah, SUU Com. I had to learn how to learn again. It'd been so long, Art. I'm going to the library to look stuff up. And where's the Dewey Decimal Card File system here? I can't, what?
What happened to the computers, right? Why did that happen?
That was fun. Yeah, I have 2 degrees from here. I have my bachelor's and master's here, and I'm proud to say that. I'm looking to get another license plate with the SU logo on it because I like people to know. And also, I'd like to park on campus occasionally without getting a parking ticket.
I think they're going to do that again this year. I've seen the thing come out saying you have to get a pass park.
Yeah.
And right now, the parking is going to be the access is a little more limited because of the roundabout at the end of University, where they're going to put that on 1100 West and the bridge that goes over.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. And I guess they're not going to have it done until September 30th. Mindy will be pushing them to get done sooner because that's all the main arteries to the university.
Yes, it is.
And Southern Utah will play Idaho State in the first football game this year on August 29th or so. Anyway, and see, we're still playing. Some of the teams from the Big Sky stayed with us as far as scheduling. And Idaho State's one of the main ones at Northern Arizona. We've played a lot of those teams.
Isn't it funny? You've been here long enough to see what goes around, comes around, and just hang in there, and who knows what's next. And I always thought it was a great fit. I was part of the first, not even the first push, the last big push to be accepted in one of the Big Sky with Ken Beezer and Steve Benyon. And it was a lot of work to get in there. I always thought this is the right fit. This is the conference for SUU. And I'm very happy to see that's where we're going back to. And I think it'll be the right place.
It is. And, in 2012, we played our last game in Sioux Falls against Oakland, Michigan, who, nobody had ever heard of Oakland around here until they came into till the same league we were in. But they were on their way to the NCAA. They had a great team. And Steve Annette and his band of the Soldier for SUU knocked him out of the tournament in the first round. And Coach Reed, that was his last tournament when he ended in 2012. But that was a thrilling game. We came back from down 10 to win the game.
One of the most entertaining coaches in all of basketball coached Oakland. Yeah, it's so fun just to watch him coach over there. You didn't even have to watch the game to know what was happening. You can just watch him on the side.
That's true. And he's gone on to other big schools to coach. Where is he? Tulsa? or Tulane right now, I think. He's in one of those.
It's hard to keep up with the musical chairs these days.
It is. Yeah. It is. And for players, too.
Players and coaches moving.
What do you think of Hodson and Hoagland? If they had played in the Centrum with the three-point line, they might be on the stat chart. They're the most prolific scorers in SUU history.
I think they could both be in the top 5 easily with scoring, because they weren't shooting from where they were shooting because there was a line. That's where they were comfortable shooting from. We used to make fun of it and call it Hoag land, because that's the land Hoagland liked to shoot from. It was way beyond the line. And Hodson, if he came over half court, he was open. And he would shoot it at any time. I know, I played against him in City League after his days here as a college, and he would shoot it from anywhere, and it was going in, too. So, yeah, that line changed everything. It came right after us, and then I think it was the next year after we graduated, they brought in a three-point line, and then the year after that, they brought in the shot clock. Man, I would have loved to have that against Mines. I don't want to play four corners against them.
I would have loved to see that. Stan Jack beat Grand Junction, Mesa, Colorado, and Grand Canyon by holding the ball in that District 7 tournament back in 77. And what happened was Mesa was waiting, and we played Grand Canyon. When we beat Grand Canyon, they had their tickets ready for Kansas City because they knew they were going. This was the NAIA back then. But the NAIA was all these schools that are Division II, Division III, and a lot of Division I teams then were NAIA. And anyway, that's kind of what happened. And then that night, we had beaten Grand Junction, Mesa, and then we played Grand Canyon, and he did the same thing. And once we got the lead, 2 or 4 points, that was it. Held the ball. It was some of the lowest scoring first halves I've ever called. And not to get up on a tangent here, but those were exciting games. But the thing was, they fouled us, and they made all their free throws. Hodson, Amos James, Kerry Rupp. Kerry Rupp, one of the finest natural shooters you will ever see anywhere. I mean, he was a great shooter. And they just made all their free throws, and the next thing I knew, I was on a plane going to Kansas City for the tournament.
You have to make free throws if you want to play that style, because they're going to come out and foul you. And I think we had to take that approach a couple of times against School of Mines, because they were happy to run 3, 4, 5 minutes off the clock, standing out at half court, and you get so sick of that playing defense against it. But as soon as you relax for a half a second, they'd cut back door and shoot a layup, and away you go. And
Coach Jim Darden was the coach of Mines, and he played for the University of Wyoming when they won the national championship way in 1939, I think. Anyway, yeah. Well, Dean, it's been good to have you here. I know that you'd like to maybe tell us a little more about your SUU experiences on and beyond the basketball, because you were a vice president with the president for a while.
I was extremely fortunate to serve several really high-quality individuals here. Everybody thought I came from Snow with Steve Bennion. I'd never met the guy until I got the job here. But working for him was a real emotional lift. He could be positive through the darkest days and the hardest times, and he'd still be upbeat. And we used to joke, Diley Adams and I, and then Jackie Bullock and others in that office would have our spirits lifted every day, because even when he had his door closed, his laugh was so loud and infectious that it would make you smile. And I love being around that optimism all the time. And then, Mike Benson, Steve Bennion was known by my kids as the high five guy. Yeah. Mike Benson was known as the ice cream guy, because he would buy my kids ice cream when they would come in the office. Even Greg Stoffer, as an interim president in between, was a great guy. Completely different personality. Oh, yeah. But did great things for the university. I was a student here when Jerry Sherritt was president. There's another great president in the legacy of this whole thing. And I watched him do some wonderful things. And it was really fun to be back there. I sat right next to a legend who we lost just recently in President's Council, twice a week. Sterling Church was on my right almost every time we sat down at meetings. And he never failed to say when he was arguing over a topic, I'm going to do what's right for my students. And the "my" was the key word there. He fought for them like they were his own kids, always, for decades.
And at his funeral, just June 29th or whatever it was, I was there, and they had all the student body presidents over the years, and some of the others who had associated with them in the student government.
Yeah.
And they sat on the stand.
Wow.
And they were all up there. Of course, Mindy was there. It was really fun, and I got to talk to a lot of them after who I knew. So,
and he mentored so many of them to part of their greatness trajectory along the way, and what a legacy. But I got to work with great people and be part of making decisions for a university that I was all in on, and I still will think of it that way. And a lot of it comes from the basketball. I bled on that floor, not just figuratively.
Literally bled.
I did leave a lot of blood on War Memorial in practice and in games. And I gave a lot here. And I'm just mentally and emotionally, it's still a big part of my life. And I like to follow it and stay in touch and see you at coaches' meetings.
To watch to look at Black there in the building.
Yeah. I see athletes in Smith's. I'm shopping and I go, oh, obviously that's the volleyball team. They're all 6 feet tall and walking past. I know who that is going down the floor. So it's fun. I like watching, and I'll always be cheering for you, Art, no matter how long you want to sit down there and keep teaching students, man. I like your enthusiasm, and your optimism it was contagious for me as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's a great 45 years we spent together.
Yeah.
Even to this day, you put the championship cream on the head and Grand Junction. But those kinds of things are some of the memories you have about building friendships and relationships. It was great.
It was great. We could do a whole nother podcast just on the things that you and I got into.
And one last thing, how are your kids doing?
The kids are great. Thank you for asking. That's a lot. I was blessed to have presidents who understood that I was a single dad raising my kids, and they were okay with me picking up my kids from school, bringing them to my office, and coaching them through homework while I was working.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget Steve Benyon and Mike Benson for letting me do that and helping me raise my kids right here on this campus. So there's another reason it's an emotional attachment for me. My kids grew up on this campus, kind of like Mindy Benson did.
Well,
and I'm always grateful for people that were kind enough to let me do that.
And Benyon, President Benyon, was at Sterling Church's funeral.
He was.
Sat right in front of me, and he was, he's so full of energy. No matter how old he gets.
No, man.
Anyway, he's a great guy.
Great guy.
And now President Benson, he's gone somewhere else, hasn't he?
He's at West Virginia.
I saw something about that.
Yeah. He has moved, and he just keeps going up the ladder.
From Eastern Kentucky to
Coastal Carolina, who went to the World Series. Yep, to West Virginia. Now we're going to expect great things coming from there.
Yeah, and then some of the Power Four conferences, West Virginia is right in there.
Right in there.
With BYU and Utah. Anyway, it's been great to visit with you. Thanks for coming. And I was going to call this Fridays with Art, but then a time with Art is also good.
Yeah.
So thanks for spending time.
Thanks for the invitation. I've enjoyed it, Art. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Oh, there you are.
I'm ready. He was ready all along, ready for you.
Were you? I was. Yeah, I was. That was a good after. You guys, that rocked.